Hello and welcome to Kiki's Chat Show. Today is Wednesday, the 17th of November, and today I am so honored, and I don't know, and to show you how honored I am, I woke up this morning and I have other work, but my whole mind was, what am I going to wear? I'm meeting a fashion icon. What am I going to? And this is someone I know. But the fact that she is coming on my show, it's like she's coming to my house. It's like a first date. And the confusion today on what to wear, how should I behave. And as time goes on in this chat, you will find out why I am so overwhelmed and so grateful to her on my humble show. My guest today, Marlene, the topic today is how I broke free from domestic violence forever. Now, today is story time, and Margaret is going to tell us her story. I'm not going to interrupt too much, a question here or there. And then from there, we will find out how she broke free from domestic violence. Today, we're hearing a story and learning from it to add it to our lives. If you think your life is bad, or if you think your life is bitter, sit down and let's do this together. My guest today, as I said, is Margaret Aberdeen. She's a founder of Embracing Change, and she is a warrioress. And she's a domestic violence, cancer, and near-death experience survivor. Now, the whole thing is a tongue twister. Near-death experience survivor. And like a phoenix, has risen triumphantly from it all as an international award-winning speaker. She's a coach, a poet, and an author of a book called Priceless Roles of a Mother. And this book is available from Amazon, but I'll talk about it again at the end so that you know where to find it. I think you all need to read it and you will know. Now, Margaret is a ferocious advocate for many women. She calls them womb men's issues, particularly domestic violence, and with her resilience, shares her experience as a bridge to help others. So she will tell you her story, she will give you advice, and she will help you. Everyone needs a Margaret in their lives, and I am blessed to have a Margaret. And trust me, I am sharing you one of my priceless gems of my life. From a breakdown to a breakthrough, her life story is like an epic adventure filled with struggles, courage, strength, and passion, which has been published in magazines, anthologies, and she has also been interviewed on several international radio and television shows, and I've seen some of them. Yes, Margaret is indeed a warrior with a message. It has become her life mission to speak and educate others that though you cannot change or forget your past, you can change how you think about it. And that is something that we should all, adhere to. We've all, by the time you get to the age of 40, struggling 50, 60, whatever, you have gone through things. You have gone through confusion. You have gone through questions. You have wondered what it is that you have come into this world to do. And you may see negative things which make you think, I want to die. You don't need to do. I'm giving you the chance to share Margaret with me. And by the time we finish speaking, you will see that you must have a purpose, but you're not paying attention. Welcome to the show, Margaret.
Oh, it's a great pleasure being here. And just listening to, my story, sometimes I myself, I'm so bewildered. No. It's like talking to another person about another person, but it's me, myself, that has been through all that. And it's really unbelievable sometimes. I've got to pinch myself and say, did I really actually go through all these storms, darkness? And here I am today. I did. But the first question a lot of people would ask me is, how did I do it? You can ask me
Yeah.
that, Candy, but it's how did I manage to go through all that and stand here and be the person I am today?
Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Start and tell me, what was your childhood like, and how did you become aware of your surroundings and understand what your life was, and how did you pick up from there?
Okay. Yes, my childhood was very horrific. Abuse. My father was an alcoholic and used to abuse my mom countless times. And you could imagine as a child being among that battlefield of domestic violence, the horrific pain and the suffering and the emotions that I encountered. It was six of us. I'm the third one, and one boy and five girls. So there I was with all my siblings, but really feeling alone because a lot of people don't realize, when a child or children is in domestic violence, yeah, we may be there together, but we're not together because we are all in our own fear and our own trauma.
We're
So
in
this is
survival
another
mode.
thing. Yes, this is another
Yeah.
thing I have discovered, for myself as growing up as a child. So yes, I found it very painful, very unhappy. I had no one to turn to, Candy, no one there because relatives and things didn't used to come around. My father was extremely religious, so and in those days, everyone don't mind people's business. What happened behind closed doors? That's their problem. There is no resources, nowhere for anyone to go and get help. So you could imagine that isolation and that suffocation and that suppression. And this is something, a lot of parents don't understand. The child is young, I know, and they think, oh, well, they don't understand, they don't see, they don't feel. They do feel, they do see, because at that age, they are observing and absorbing because they're like sponge. So could you imagine the horrific trauma that a child encounters? And I must say something, even before the child is born, while the child is in the mother's womb, and if something like that is happening around them, domestic abuse, strident voices, and things like that, what do you think is happening to the child in the mother's womb? That child is feeling all the emotions. So these are the things I think needs to be highlighted. People need to understand when a woman is pregnant, what's happening around her is affecting the child. So that is something I've done quite a lot of research and I know what I'm talking about because it did affect me.
I
So go ahead. Yeah. So this is something
Yeah.
I think is very important. And due to that, not having anyone around me, no
Mhm.
family, no grandmother, nothing, I was not able to really concentrate in school. I didn't really have any close friend, I can't remember my favorite subject because my mind was so absorbed in the abuse back home. A child going to school, can that child concentrate? No, because the child mind is at home. Am I going to go home, and is daddy going to beat mommy? And so you see these sort of things we must really pay attention to. So due to that, I had no one to turn to, but there was something I have to share with someone. I turned to nature. That's why you
Mm.
may see me very colorful, the way I dress, the colors I put, because nature is the one was like my secure blanket or comfort blanket or refuge
Mm.
because I was living in the Caribbean. I'm originally from Aruba, but I grew up in America, in Trinidad.
Mhm.
So this is surrounded with mountains, birds, trees, waterfalls, ravines, you name it. So that was my escape route. That is the way I've managed to come out, in my childhood, from my childhood, because a lot of children sometimes when they go through that, it's such a lot of pain and suffering, and there is so many I mean, it's harmful, because along that line, one of my siblings took her life because she could not endure that pain. So obviously, she was in her 20s, but it's still that showing from the roots of the domestic abuse. It does carry on in your adulthood. So that's how my childhood was. It started from my childhood and how I grew up with that pain, that suffering, those emotions.
So
So yeah.
a question which people always ask is, but if you had this experience at home, how did you then enter into it yourself? If your
Hmm.
mother was going through it and you are aware of it, do you not see the signals which show that, oh no, I better watch out? This is not a good man for me.
So true. That question is such a common, I could even use the word stale. It's such a question that people regularly would ask. Oh, because you've encountered that as a child, you don't want to do that. Yes, I had those thoughts in my mind. No, there is no way I want to follow in my mother's footsteps. There is no way. Yes, they are there. And that's a thought, remember. But what happens unconsciously, because your mind is focusing on those memories of trauma, of pain
Hmm.
in you, you
Hmm.
will attract someone very similar because you have not dealt with the core root of that pain, of that trauma. I mean, I've said so many times during my talks. Now, if you see a tree that is grown and the fruits are not bearing very well, not bearing good fruits, you're not going to look at the leaves, you're not going to look at the trunk or the branches. You have to get to the root core. So if you did not get to the root core of your trauma, you will attract someone similar. If you have these thoughts in your mind, I'm not going to get involved with someone who is abusive, and the red flag, you may see the red flags, but still, because you have not dealt with it,
Mm.
you will attract someone very similar, but I track. This is really, really powerful. What happened with me, I attract three people like my father because I had so much resentment towards my father. I was angry with him, etc. At a very early age in my teens, you know, I felt really, if I had hung around, I would have probably killed my father. I'm going to say that bluntly. A lot of people may winch and say, oh my gosh, how could you say that? That's your father. But people don't realize the pain. That pain is so painful, especially the emotional pain. That is what. So, this is why, with that emotional pain that you have, and you keep that in your mind, and you haven't dealt with it, you will attract people very similar. I attracted someone mentally, mental manipulation. That's my father. My father was also very religious. I attract someone with religious, manipulation and physical abuse. And I attract someone who was an alcoholic and abused. So you see, that's my father's characters, those three personalities. So again, because I was thinking so much about my father and how I grew up there, that is why I attracted similar. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to the point where I'm understanding that you are attracted to that because that is what you know. So if maybe as a man is, this is the life you were in, and this you know. So a man, he drinks a little bit, because there are some people who are attracted to the smoke of a cigar. So when they
Hmm.
meet a man who smoked, if their father smoked a cigar, it's a familiar, comfortable smell of the man that they marry.
Yes.
Kind of, it happens, So maybe that's what it is. But I mean, tell us about So what happened then? You grew up and you got married.
Yes. Yes. I grew up in the Caribbean and moved to New York City
Hmm.
with my family. My father came along. What a pity. I've always said that. I don't know why my mom, because it's my mom who went to America first to get away from my father. But again, because, thinking that going to a different country, one can start a new life. But I have to say that is a load of nonsense. because if you have trauma in you, you're bringing it with you. You can't dump it in the river. You can't dump it in the sea. It's coming up. It's coming along with you. So yes, I lived in New York City for a while. I was educated there, etc. And then I met my ex-husband, and that's how I came back. I came to London, and it was my marriage was really happy. I have one son and thing. I travel a lot with my ex-husband, so it was not bad. But later on, we see the mental emotion manipulation does come out, very possessive, etc. And but I was thinking that's love, because sometimes this is what a lot of us think. We meet the Prince Charming, and we're going to live happily ever after and have the lovely white picket fence and blah blah blah, and then we have a baby, and oh my, oh my, the thing that we young ladies sometimes fantasize, that Cinderella myth that we carry so much in our mind, that we're going to meet someone and it's going to secure us for life happily ever after. I'm not saying it's wrong. Some people do have that sort of relationship, but a lot more, the majority of it does not. So that was my way of thinking. Yes, it's going to last forever. But once I had my son, we had our son, the marriage broke down. So, but that was more, as I said, that was mental manipulation. And eventually the marriage broke down. I became a single mom, stayed here with my son, built my own life, my own house, etc. I was also a fashion journalist for various magazines, which is something I totally enjoyed. I've never had training for these things. Sometimes we are born with these lovely gifts, natural gifts, organic. You don't have to go and study for it. So that I did for quite a number of years with my son. But eventually, what happened with me, Candy, is because I had no family here in London, England. It was just me, myself, and I, and then with my son. So you could imagine now, now my husband, my son's father, and I are no longer together. I am sort of like stranded, isolated, because I didn't really know too much about this country. Because the way I got married too was it within 2 weeks of meeting my son's father in New York City, I got married. Well, 4 weeks, because we have to go for blood tests and all those sort of things. So it's 4 weeks. So I came here over here with a stranger in a strange country. And for those 10 years, I more or less built my life in him. So once it's broken up, I'm here left alone. I have no one to turn to again. You see, listen to that. That's more like a pattern from my childhood. Because when I had no one in my childhood, so you see the pattern, then now here I'm in my adulthood, I become a mother, I'm a single mother, I have no one to turn to, no one to lean in. So that's a pattern. Now I can see it, now I can understand what was happening. So there I was building my life, but eventually I became very ill. I, started having seizures and things like that, but I had no one here. It was just my son, my young son, and myself. So you could imagine the trauma that I was going through, not knowing where to go for help and
So
don't want
you
to talk.
you did not enjoy being lonely. You had a job, you had a good job, you had
Mhm,
everything, and
mhm.
yet you were lonely.
Yes, I would say,
Adult company, basically.
yeah, I would say yes, that is it. But I also would say it was isolation also. I didn't know where to go for help. But I was
Yeah.
working, doing well, but I didn't know where to go for help. So I'm carrying all this with myself in myself, and there
Hmm.
is no one there. So eventually, it's like my boat was sinking. I don't know if you ever seen the Titanic, how when it hit the iceberg and it starts going down slowly. That's what was happening with me.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly what was happening with me, with my son. And eventually, um, this gentleman came into my life like
Hmm.
a Prince Charming again, and very religious, and oh, really there for me, like laying out the carpet and blah 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 blah. And then I had my own queendom, my own house, it's my own property. He
Hmm.
didn't have it. So, however, he came into my queendom, and once he did that, he started going into my mind, took control, took the steering wheels of my life, etc. And he was very religious, as I said. I think what
Hmm.
he saw me as, okay, yes, I've been in magazines, I've traveled. I'm also dual nationality, American,
Hmm.
British.
Yeah.
And I think he saw that gap in me where he can hop on to come along, to be with me. But instead, he was really just controlling me. But because I was very vulnerable, I was very ill, I did not see I saw the red flags, but I did not pay attention to them.
You ignored them.
That's
Were
right.
you, would you say that you were in love then?
Oh no, no, I would say
You
no.
were
I
not
would
in love, but
not
you
in
were
love.
in a relationship and you didn't want to go deeper than you were at the moment, emotionally and also mentally. Therefore, you held on to that which you had at that moment.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay,
And I would
carry on.
point, yeah, I would point something out that a lot of people are so scared to address, especially women. And I've
Yeah.
heard it. When I was there by myself in that vulnerable stage, having seizures, working, trying to help, and I have no one there. And
Mm,
you when a child comes into this world, you want to give your child the best head start. You want to give
mm.
your child a happier head start than you experienced as a child.
Yes.
So when that is not coming along and someone is by themselves, full of emotion, full of trauma, full of whatever, what do you think is in their mind at that precise moment to do? Lots of women has done it, lots of people, and people may point their fingers at them, but you have to understand what's inside of that person. And this is it. I was getting on the edge of murder suicide. I can repeat that again. People may mouth may say, "Oh my gosh, how could you think like that?" When someone is drowning, when someone is in emotional pain and it's so severe and there is no one around to rescue you, I'm telling you, that's where people want to switch off that pain, that emotion. They have no intentions of trying to kill themselves or do whatever, but it's the pain that is so severe that they said, I can't stand it. I have to switch it off. It's painful. So, this is why I've always said do not try and judge people until you know their backstory. I mean, I will say something you heard about um, the the Duchess of Sussex, Harry and Meghan.
Yeah.
The what was happening? She wanted to escape, and her thoughts were like that. And even Tina Turner
Yeah.
behind. Yet, you see what I'm saying? So we cannot judge someone when someone because you do not know the story. Listen to the story instead of pointing and frowning. Listen to the pain of that person. So that is something I said. That guy came into my life at that time to rescue me because
Yeah.
I have a purpose here. I have a mission here. I did not see it then, but I know it now. So that's how I look at it now. I do not feel guilty as I used to, but I'm saying this is what I saw and this is what I felt. And I'm very strong-minded. And now I can talk about it because the more I speak about that, it's healing me. And I'm sure it's going to help a lot of women who have been in similar situation. Accept it, feel it, cry it, say it. And I'm telling you, that's the best way of moving forward with your life, of growing in life. And that's one of the purpose why I am the way I am and why I am here today.
Let me just say that in African tradition, they teach you that when you are getting married and when you do get married, do not talk about your marriage issues outside. And in fact, women are always competing with each other, trying to prove that their marriage life is better than the next person. Therefore, it becomes difficult because there are times when you're saying your issue, but nobody's listening. It's happened to me. I mean, I in my marriage when things were not right, I had my cousin who I was very close to, grew up together, loved her to bits.
Mhm.
And every time I told her something, she would say, "Oh, but you can't just tell him to, you know." Or even anytime they suggested something like, "Oh, let's go and do," and I say, "Oh no, we can't do that because my husband doesn't, you know, he's going to start arguing with me if people are nice to me or they're going to be." She said, "Oh, but can't you just tell him to stop?" It means people do not listen to you, and after a while, can't you tell him to stop? If I could, would I be at this position? Would I be telling you this? So it's difficult. It's difficult for women to share because you don't know who. You can have a friend and that's your best friend and your life is happy and everything. The minute you start telling them you have a deep dark secret that you want to share,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you realize that they're not your friends at all because they don't see it that way and they don't view it that way, or
Mm-hmm.
they want to prove suddenly that they're married. Oh my god, sorry, as for me, my husband doesn't do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree with you 100%. It has happened to me. And just as you said, I look at just like the leaves drop from the tree onto the ground. If friends that I thought was friends do that, then they're no longer my friends. At present, they're no longer in my life. And I've grown to accept those sort of things because I have had it. Because if I suppress myself with my feelings, my emotions, I am making myself sick. Because I know I have gone through that. Why I had cancer of the kidney. I have one kidney now, brain tumor, because unconsciously I was suppressing a lot of my emotions from my childhood, from my family, from my mother, from my sister, from all these people around me. What is happening with Margaret? Why is Margaret taking all those burdens? Why? You have to pause and stop and think about yourself. A lot of people may say it's selfish. I got to put the oxygen mask on myself before I can help anybody else. But it's been a long journey for me to be where I am and what I'm saying. And it's a continuous process. It's not a one off, it doesn't stop. It's a continuous process. And then the people that eventually comes wrong you because of your thoughts, those are the like-minded people that you can talk and really have a conversation. Those people who want to drop off like the leaf, they're not ready for that.
Okay.
They're
So
not.
tell us to let's go back to this guy at the time that you were getting into depression and you were thinking of killing yourself and all of this, he came into your life. He then started to manipulate you. And then what happened there?
Oh la la. Well, that, I mean, I'll have to say some parts of it because just remember when someone is going a very vulnerable stage of life and
Mm-hmm.
plus having seizures,
Mm,
etc. Parts of my memories are not all there. So certain things I cannot remember. And perhaps there's a reason why. Because sometimes when you go to the most darkest, the most rawest, the most horrific, there's a protection there for you within yourself. But
mm,
all I remember what happened, he came into my life, took the
mm,
steering wheels of my life, and
mm,
asked me, because I was
mm,
brought up as a Roman Catholic,
mm,
and that sort of disciplinary that is embedded in me as a child, I no
mm,
longer follow any sort of religion. I'm more freedom with spiritual wisdom, etc. But how he came into my life, I got engaged. Don't ask me. I can't remember even saying yes to the engagement. He put a ring on my finger. No, no, it's true.
I believe you.
Put
I
a ring
believe
on my finger. Got into
you.
my home. My beautiful. I call it a queendom. I don't call it a kingdom. When there is
No.
no man there, I bought the property myself. It was just my son and my son. So it was my queendom. He came into my queendom, and somehow I even got pregnant. So when I look back now, for him to really hold me, he had to pregnate me. Because sometimes with a woman, when a woman has get pregnant for this man, a man, that's sort of like a closest, like a connection. And I'd say
Mm,
if that man is so weak to do that to the woman, to hold that woman
mm,
there, because that's how a woman will react. Oh, he's a father. We're going to build a life together. So he
mm,
pregnate me, and I had my first son was my son was there. That
mm,
and somehow at one point I do remember my son once used to go to my ex husband, well his father, every other weekend.
mm,
And then one Sunday, my son was coming back, because to get prepared for school. And this guy moved into my house. He was there. I don't remember how he got the keys. And all I remembered was a Sunday, and I am in my state of depression, vulnerability, seizures, you name it. My mind is all mixed up, confused, in such a in such a mess.
Mm-hmm.
This guy stopped me from opening the door to let my son in. So there, that Sunday, my son did not come back to the house, to his home. He was locked out. He was about 9 years old. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look back at that memory, this is how I can describe it. Because my son and I were so close together. We travel together, we do so much together, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said to people, for me to have done that, it was like that man had a gun to my back and a knife to my throat. It wasn't, but this is how I
Yeah.
could remember. For me, a mother and a son is very close connected, and how many years we were together, etc. So that bonding was thing. But I cannot remember the afterwards. I just cannot. I've been to therapy. I had psychiatry just to go and try and think what happened to me afterwards. I can't remember. Blocked off, erased, gone.
Wow.
That part of the memory, I have no idea. Up to today.
Wow. So then what did you do? Okay, so you let him go.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? You were you were happily fianced and married and getting on with it. I don't know.
No,
So
no, 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 no. By doing that, and when someone again, in that emotional state, it is not really the person. The person is not whole. The
mm,
person is not, because the person, the controller, manipulator, is the one in control. It's like a remote control. You have
yeah.
a remote control on the television, how you can get all these shots. That was what he was doing to me. My mind just got so messed up, so whatever it is. Eventually, I sold my property. This is what happened. I can't remember. I sold my property, and somehow I end up in Enugu, Nigeria. I can't remember boarding the plane. That part of my life, I just cannot remember that bit of my life, because whatever is happening there, perhaps I was going through some sort of trauma about my son. I can't remember that. That's a gap in my memory.
Okay.
That's how I've tried so much, therapy, you name it, and it does not come forth. It does
Gosh.
not come forth.
So you can't remember anything. So how did you arrive at Enugu? You don't remember how you
I
arrived
don't
at.
remember boarding the plane. I don't remember those parts of my life because, as I said, I was very, very ill.
Good Lord.
That's the major thing. I mean, I have all these doctors' notes now to see, and what happened with me. But anyhow, I ended up in Enugu. My property in London is sold. I don't know where my money went. I can't. Yeah, the money. I haven't seen it. I don't know.
Do
But
you know anything about juju?
someone said, a lot of people said he may have done something because he cooked my food. He did what a lot of people said there is something he may have done in there that I did not know. That's why
He
my
cooked
mind.
your food?
Yeah, he cooked food for me and things like that.
Wow.
So I don't know if there is something there, and because the state I was in, but you will hear why perhaps I was so vulnerable at that time. You will understand why. I wouldn't say it right now, but there is something that will come eventually as we are talking to this story.
Okay,
You'll
please,
understand. So,
please
yeah, so
carry
that's what happened. I ended up in Nugu. I am pregnant.
on.
I'm engaged.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a strange country with a strange man. So again, the pattern. You see the pattern.
Yeah.
The pattern. You see, keep an
That
eye.
always it's just you alone, no family, no friends, but you and the man together.
See what I'm
And
saying?
that is a vulnerable angle. That is vulnerability, big time.
Exactly. So you see the pattern, the childhood, my teenage years, and I got married. The pattern is happening. You see, we must pay attention to the patterns of our life, the thoughts and the feeling. That is what we must pay attention to see what is happening in our life, to understand our life. So I ended up there, and eventually, at one point, I met his family in Enugu, etc. But at one point, I do remember confronting him. Like something happened, and because he was not around me too much. One of his brothers were there with me constantly. I very vaguely. But the point why I am here today and why I have survived and why I have awakened
Mm-hmm.
is when that man, when I confronted him with an issue, and that man smacked me, slapped
While
me.
pregnant. Were you
Yes,
pregnant?
I was pregnant, 30 weeks pregnant, slapped me in my face. Now, a lot of women will shriek, will shiver, will go in a corner and cry, will back away.
Mm.
But Margaret did not do that. And why Margaret did not do that
Mm-hmm.
is because of what I saw in my childhood, my father smacking my mother countless times as a child. So you see the automatic when he smacked me,
Mm-hmm.
I smacked him back.
Wow.
And guess why that is, Candy? It's
Mm-hmm.
because as a child, seeing that father smacking the mother, and I'm trying to defend my mother, I want to beat up my father a couple of times
Yeah.
for the pain I saw inflicted on my mother and the
Yeah.
pain, I was feeling.
So you took it, it just all came together and you gave him a massive one.
How did you guess?
I
I
can
mean,
I can just feel it.
that smack, I mean, and what I said to him, when I tell people that they're like, oh my gosh, how could he? I looked him in the eyes when he smacked me, because a lot of women will shrivel up and shake and, whatever, and walk away. I did
Yeah.
not. I looked him straight in the eyes without blinking, without winking. I turned the other cheek. I said,
Mm.
smack this other cheek. He did not. But when I smacked him with all that vision, with all that fury that I had as a child,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that knocked him over. That man eyes open, his mouth drop open like a frog. Whenever I tell this story, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh
It
my
is so vivid in my mind. And that is the smack that woke me up. I've saved my life.
God. Amen. Hallelujah.
Because when I did that, you can see the man is a weak man. The man shaking, shaking, shaking. Because when men put their hands on a woman,
Mm-hmm.
when men try to control a woman,
Mm-hmm.
that is a weak man, because there is something in him feeling he has to put his physical strength, because you see a courageous, a strong woman.
Mm.
I would even call myself untamed woman.
Mm. Mm.
That is how those, not all men, but a man who's abusive and manipulation, that's a weak man. Very, very weak man. And they see in the strength of that woman, and they try to suppress that woman. So this is why I look at each and every woman who has been through domestic violence, the courage, the strength to entail that. Women, we think we are weak. We have to suppress our emotions. We have to do this. That's the strength that we have within us. The feminine strength, that authenticity in that woman. We've got it. But sometimes we ourselves are so scared of it. And just as Candy said, women sometimes, instead of being together, bonding together, growing together, why do we have to battle with each other?
Mm.
We are all of that same gender. Let
Mm.
us join like a pack of wolves and come together to create a difference in this world.
Mm.
That's what we need to do.
Mm.
And this is how, as I am going along right now, I feel this so immensely in my heart. But that day, that what woke me up. And from that, I remember him saying, if you weren't pregnant, he would kill me. I remember now, I'm in a strange country. Don't
Mm-hmm.
speak the language, don't know what resources to go to, don't know who to turn to.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what I said? Sometimes I myself laugh at myself. I said, my gosh, you see, as plain as I'm speaking now, I just looked at him again. I said, okay, you want to kill me? But before you kill me, I want you to understand there's a child I'm carrying in my womb. Is
Mm-hmm.
feeling all the pain, all the suffering. So come now and kill me. The way I'm speaking right now, I'm not shouting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just speaking calmly. And
Mm-hmm.
again, he's seen me now doing that. And he's like, oh my God, I didn't know I was involved with such a woman. Because yes, I may look feminine, nice, my hair, my lipstick, or whatever. But guess what? Women, we have that testosterone, the masculinity and the femininity. So bring that masculinity out. So my masculinity and my femininity join together as a team. And that's how I managed to overcome that situation in Enugu, Nigeria. My masculinity and my femininity joined together.
So, how did you then leave Enugu, Nigeria? What happened then? I mean,
Ooh, that's another one. Well, as I realized I could have killed him, he could have killed me.
mhm,
But it was something inside of me. You know, we all have this, I call it inner tutor. You all might call it inner child.
mm,
You all might call it intuition, gut feeling. But I call
mm,
it my inner tutor now. Some voice say, Margaret, don't continue that, you know,
fight.
abuse, that struggle, because I was going to kill that man, believe me, or he
Mm,
would have killed me.
mm,
So something there just said, no, I'm following my parents' footstep with the abuse and things like that.
mhm,
So put a zip on your lip
mhm.
and keep still, and which I did. All
Yeah.
I remember when I accepted the situation, I do remember looking at a mirror. There was some mirror in this place where I was living, tears
Mm,
coming down my face, and I just said, you know something, Margaret? You cannot blame anyone. You cannot blame your childhood. You cannot blame your parents. No
mhm,
one but you made the decision to come here.
mhm,
And I
mhm,
said, Father, Supreme Being, please get me out of this situation. I have a son. You know, I left in London.
mhm,
I want to see that my son grow up.
mm.
And from that point, I just said, I surrender. I'll be service to you for the rest of my life. That's all I said.
You said that to God, though, not
Yes,
to the
I was
man.
just thought, yes, not him. No, I would not
Mhm,
even say that to anyone. How could I be service to a human being for the rest of my life? No way.
mhm, mhm.
And all I
Well,
remember, yeah, all I remember is going back in some room, put my body on this bed, and and I don't know. I mean, thinking of killing myself, obviously, but there is no high mountains, no buildings, nowhere, and I don't know the place. I mean, again, the thought of suicide came into my mind.
mhm,
And I didn't want that child to survive, because obviously a child coming into this world with such a parent like that, no, it's untold. A child is to be nurtured and loved. Eventually, I got very ill, and I
mhm,
ended up in hospital.
mhm,
Had an emergency cesarean,
mhm.
and that's where I had the near death. During the emergency cesarean, I had the near death experience of my body coming out, my spirit coming out of my body.
Oh my God.
Yes, and during that time, although
Mhm,
I was encapsulated in pain, in fear, in confusion, in disillusion, in whatever you want to call it,
mhm,
as I came out of my spirit, came out of my body, I have to close my eyes because it's so real when I talk about it. And I'm going through this tunnel, this misty tunnel in fear and confusion, and all of a sudden, this aura of illuminating white light just came and enhanced my body, and I started to feel light. I started to feel at peace. I started to feel calmer as
mhm.
the light and I became one. And
Wow.
as I'm traveling, the beauty of life I saw before me, I saw a preview of my life, of where
Mm.
I am today. I
Wow.
saw myself on platforms giving speeches. I saw myself on radios and television. Yes, I did. I saw myself writing books, doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I've it's been written in magazines. I've been on radio talking about near death experience.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yes.
This is
And
emotional. This is
yeah,
highly emotional.
yes. And when I went back into the body, into
Hmm.
my body,
Yeah.
like I had no fear, like a different person. I had no fear.
Hmm.
I have no fear of dying. I have no fear of living.
Mm.
Something like that happened to me. And all I recall, and I did ask the Supreme Soul to take the child away physically from this earth, because there's no way, as I said earlier, a child should come in to such a trauma. to such a horrific. This is what I feel the pain when, with abusive parents and having their children around. You may see a tear cascade down my cheek because it's so painful for that child. People
Yeah.
don't understand. That child is being abused. It's like physical abuse. That child is feeling it. So that's why I just said, take the child away. People have said to me, oh, I shouldn't say that's evil. This. I said, do not tell me what I shouldn't say. I was there. The child was there. You weren't there. So don't come and condemn me for what I felt in that situation. So this is why we have to be so careful and listen attentively to others. Try and feel their pain. Try and step in their shoes and stop judging and criticizing. Women out there, we need to come together, to stand as one, to make that breakthrough, not just for ourselves, but for our children. That's my policy, and that's my passion, and that's my mission. That's why I talk with such strength. I talk with such positivity. I talk with such energy, because I really want that to go through. Millions and millions of us need to hear that.
They do. So what happened then? What happened to your baby? In
My baby, the baby, 7 days, when they did the cesarean, they infected my intestines, was infected.
hospital?
Yeah. I was dying, and the baby was placed in an incubator. He was a boy, which I called Josh. I named him Joshua.
Mm.
And I did not bond with Joshua. I didn't allow to be hold Joshua because, as a mother, when you bond with your child, it's very difficult to
Mm.
let that child go.
Mm.
So something just say, don't touch the child. Put them in an incubator. I do remember that. And 7 days later, I think the lights in the village went down,
Oh my God.
and the incubator with the child there
Oh.
switch off. And the guy was in the hospital. The guy came to the hospital. My ex-partner, or the former partner, came into the hospital that day. I can even remember the day was a Wednesday. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning. The whole lights in the village went down. So obviously the incubator went down, and the child died
Oh
seven
my.
days later. And he was there. And when the lights came back on, and I think his sister was there. She may have held the baby, and she screamed, and the child is dead. And I just turned my back, to the wall. I turned my face to the wall because
Mm.
I'm saying thank you to the higher source. And he's thinking I'm crying, and he's coming and touching me. And I'm like, oh God, in myself, I don't want that man to touch me because I'm freezing. I don't want to smell him, taste him, touch him. And he's thinking, oh, things will be okay. And I remember, I'm very ill. I'm dying too. All I
Yeah.
remember, they wrapped the child in a blue blanket
Yeah.
and took it out. If it's been thrown in a river or buried under some tree, I have no idea up to
Oh my
date.
God.
But you see, being in the hospital, going through that cesarean, that near death experience,
Mm.
and Joshua dying,
Mm.
there's a reason why. For me to be who I am, if those things didn't happen, I wouldn't be here today. So you
So
see, go
how
ahead.
did you get out then?
Well, this
How?
is it.
Yeah.
The higher source, And as I said, when you are truthful, when you are truthful and don't default yourself and blame this and blame that. I was very truthful in saying I'm the one who made that mistake in going there. Nobody I can blame but myself. Eventually, the doctor who carried out the cesarean
Mm.
contacted my family because my passport was under my pillow. Two
Mm.
passports. I had my British passport, my American passport. Someone put a Holy Bible under my pillow in the
Mm.
hospital. Because remember, I don't know this place at all.
Mm.
I don't know anybody but this strange guy who, was just set to do what he wanted to do with me.
Mm.
And the doctor may have contacted my friend, in the passport, you have someone to call urgently because I'm dying, and contacted a friend over here. in London.
Mm.
And she contacted my family, and it's true my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is a sergeant major in the army, and it's through him. They acted fast. The American embassy in Lagos,
Mm.
they acted fast, so they came and they brought security guards from the American embassy to the hospital to get me out of Enugu.
Mm.
So that's how I managed to flee the hands or the clutches of this guy who was just there to manipulate me, to take as much as he can from me, to use me, to control me. That's how I managed to flee Enugu. And I must say also, he forged a marriage certificate to try and come back with me urgently to to London, to say he's my husband. I have it in my possession. And also the doctor gave me 5,000 naira because all my money, everything was gone. This man took all my money, all my material things of life, which I don't give two hoots about because yeah, materialistic is just temporary. So
Mm.
everything was taken out from Margaret, but Margaret. And I was put on the plane. And before I boarded the plane, there was a security guard who made sure that I got on the plane. He was at my side till I got on the plane. And while I was waiting on the plane, the security guard said to me, he said, although you're very ill and you seem like you're dying, but you're very lucky to come out here alive, because there are so many women who goes to, come to these places looking to start and build a life with perhaps a native person from this,
Mm.
country.
Mm.
Some of them do not come back, do not come out alive. Some of them are held hostage because of they have children and they're not able to leave, traffic and all this, or some of them are traffic. Some, it's a lot of things that
Mm.
happen with someone going to a place, thinking it's going to build a life, and how these things can turn. I am not saying everyone in their country is like that, but
Mm.
there is, and we have to be realistic
Mm.
about these things. I mean, it happens all over the world. We have all these sorts of things happening over the world. But it happened to me in Enugu, Nigeria.
Oh my God.
So that is something I think. But I think there's a very, very important question that we need to answer here. Don't you think, Candy, is about how did I break free?
Yeah, yeah. How the story is just anyway. So how did you break free? I
Right. That is such a question that I ask myself. People ask me because after all that, I did had another relationship where there's a bit of domestic violence, but I didn't stay too long. Fled. Red flag start, fled. But I ended up having, cancer. I have one kidney, I had a brain tumor, meningitis B. All these traumatic things came into Margaret's body. I have to, and attracting these sort of people, I have to question myself because there
mm,
is a pattern. Why? Why am I attracting people in abusive relationship? Why is my body riveting with this ease? This eases, let's say. Ask yourself these questions, ladies. When we go from one relationship to one relationship to one relationship in a similar way, do you think it's that person that is doing it? Look at yourself. Flip the mirror on you,
mm.
because a lot of us think that we can change this one, that we can change that one. You see me laughing because I can just say, ha ha ha. That's a myth, that's an illusion, and that ain't it. The reason why I have broken free from domestic violence forever,
Mm-hmm.
I had to change
Yourself.
Margaret. I cannot change him. I cannot change you. I cannot change no one but Margaret. That is why, ever since I have been abused, it's a change in me. So
Tell us.
that's why I have broken free from domestic violence forever.
Tell me in 2 minutes how what the change was. What was your change? Now, people, listeners, it is different for everyone. But listen to Margaret.
Yes. The change for me, as I said, was to go within Margaret. To have the courage, I've developed 3 process, and it's called the 4 C's. And just as Candy said, listen attentively. It's for me to have the courage to go within myself, to look at Margaret, look at my patterns, look at my moods, look at my reaction. And I really have to pay attention to that and deprogram them, declutter them, unlearn them. The courage, that's the first one. And that's to do with the mind, because the mind is a very powerful tool. The power within our mind is absolutely phenomenal. Courage.
Courage.
And yes, that's the first one. Then I said, hold on a second. Well, I got several choices, because life is made up of a series of choices. I have a choice now that I had to take the courage to do that. I have a choice now to really get to know Margaret. Flip that mirror on Margaret. Become Margaret's best friend. Love Margaret, respect Margaret, trust Margaret, have compassion for Margaret. These are my choices of how I'm going to change my lifestyle. So once I have made those choices, and as I said, it is a process, it's not a one-off, because there are things that are going to come and trigger you. And just remember, all those triggers are memories. It's a collection of traumatic memories we have in us. So there now, courage, choices. Now, there's a very important one. Commitment. Commitment is a very, very important tool. Commitment to myself. Commitment to ourselves. To take control of my life. Because there are so many things that happen externally. I have to take that commitment, I make that commitment. How am I going to respond to that? Am I going to be in the victim mood or the creator mood? Because that victim mood, you will stay just going backward, but the creator is going forward. So that is my commitment. And then finally, the most beautiful part of it is the change. Change my reaction, my action, my mind, everything. And this is what now, why I am so happy. I am so carefree. I am so liberated. I am like a tree bearing fruits of knowledge and wisdom to share with others, because I have changed my lifestyle, not just by talking, but by action. And it all stems from within. There is nothing we can change externally, and there is no one that we can change, but it's our attitude to whatever situation that comes into our path. We are in control of that, and we have that awareness. That's how I live my life. Yeah, that's it. My 4 C's. Break free of domestic violence with the 4 C's process. Courage, choices, commitment to change. That's it. I eat that morning and the night.
The 4 C's, people. This has been a roller coaster. The stories, harrowing, very sad, a very emotional show that we've had today. I want to thank everyone who listened. I want to thank you, Margaret, because telling us this brought the memories, some of the memories back. I ask that God embrace Joshua and keep him with him until you meet him again. Margaret, we are honored to hear this, and I am sure that someone will be moved by this. This show would affect someone and make them remember that someone has gone through all of this. Margaret went through cancer. She went through kidney issues. She had a brain tumor after all of this. And yet here she is standing looking beautiful and still embracing her colors and being herself. I want to thank you so much. We've overrun the show. The producer is going to be very cross with me, but we had a good show. Thank you very much. Stay. I shall. People.
Great pleasure.
Bye-bye, people. Beware. Be well.
Thank you.
Well.